Today is Tuesday, May the 11th, and this is my daily thought. Okay, so here we go. For those who are new to my daily thought, which I don't plan to do them every single day because I don't always have the time to, because especially when I'm doing a lot of tarot card readings during the week, which I did Scorpio's reading today. So for any Scorpios who may be listening to this, the mid-month energy reading is up if you want to listen to that. For my daily thought, I talk about things that are going on in my life for a little bit first, and then I dive into my daily thought. So today, something interesting happened. I received a dollar bill, a crisp $1 bill in the mail, which I was like, wait, what? So it was the survey company, J.D. Power. I have to read this. I'm not going to read all of it. I just want to read the part that mentioned the dollar bill because they want me to fill out the survey. And then one of the sentences, or should I say the sentence says, "Thank you in advance for taking the time to complete this important survey. This $1 bill is enclosed to show our gratitude." It was an actual crisp. I mean, obviously I'm going to keep it, even though American dollars aren't worth that much anymore, but these are minor details. So I'll actually do their survey because they're doing a contest too. It's like a $100,000 sweepstakes or whatever that you're entered in for participating in the J.D. Power survey. So I will do that just so I can enter the contest. Because like I said before, if you take a chance, sometimes good things happen, sometimes bad things happen. But if you don't take a chance, nothing happens. So if I don't take the survey, then I definitely will not win the $100,000. But if I do take the survey, it's a possibility. You never know. Stranger things have happened. Okay, let's mosey on to the daily thought and get to that. Oh boy. My thought is about people not using what's known or what's called. And for those who are watching the video, I'm multitasking as usual. For those who are listening to the podcast, you can't see it, so it's not a big deal. But for people not using what's known as human agency, meaning taking responsibility and taking action on something. There is an old saying, "Seek and ye shall find." And not that I'm attempting to become religious, because I am far from a prophet, even though I have been called such by some people. I don't want to wear that mantle. I believe that if people can do something for themselves, they should do it for themselves or attempt to. That's the thing. Attempt to first before they drag other people into something. I'll give, and just one thing, my mother's mother, my nanny, for those who have been following my podcast for a while, you know my nanny is my mother's mother, which she's not. Both my grandparents are dead. But my nanny would always say, because my grandfather, my papa, would always ask people to do stuff like, you know, get the remote for them, go get them a glass of water, go do this, go do that. And my nanny would fuss at him and she would complain because she would say, "Don't be so quick to ask people to do stuff for you, because when the time comes when you can't do it for yourself, it makes it a little bit easier on them." So her point was, while you have the ability to do stuff for yourself, do your best to do it. And when you reach a point where you can't do stuff for yourself, people will be more receptive and more eager to help you because you haven't been making requests for years and years and years and years of things you could have obviously done on your own. And not saying that my papa was a bad person, because he wasn't. My papa was hilarious. And he was a good man. Worked very, very hard. Even picked cotton as well. So, and I love my papa. Even though we know who the favorite grandchild was, which is remember when I was telling you the Mother's Day story? The cousin I was running around playing with, that was the favorite grandchild. That was his favorite. So just like with my dad's mother, my granny, I was the favorite grandchild out of all of the grandchildren. But I mean, I spent more time with her. That's why. But yeah, I digress. So the point is, always do something. If you can do it yourself, do it yourself. Take responsibility. When I first moved into this building, the apartment manager at the time asked me to help her with setting up her internet router. Me, you already know I'm a Cancer. It's like if we can help, we'll help. Okay, fine. So I did that and helped her set up her internet router. Even though I am not a customer service representative for Spectrum anymore. Believe it or not, another side story. I used to work for Spectrum many years ago. Actually, decades ago to be precise. And the crazy thing was, I worked for Spectrum when it was Centcom. Because yeah, it was, let's see if I have this right. It was Centcom Cable, then it went to Crown Cable. Then from Crown Cable, it went to Charter Communications. And then for Charter Communications, it went to Spectrum, which Charter Communications had bought Time Warner. All that stuff was going on. But yeah, I was there and I was older day representative doing telemarketing, customer service, tech support. I even worked in the office where I took money where people would go in and pay their cable bill in the office, almost like a bank teller to a certain degree. I did that for one summer. I worked at a location because someone was out on maternity leave and they needed someone to fill in, and I was told, hey, did you want to work at that location? Which I have some other stories too as related to that. And I ended up working there. So yes, I did work for Spectrum at one point in time. But when I moved into this apartment building, I was not a representative of Spectrum. However, to be helpful to the apartment manager, because she was so nice with helping me get into the building, because at that time, my credit was less than stellar. And she was like, everything's fine. I'll help you get in. And that's what she did. And I've been here ever since. And it's been cool. But after I helped with the router, then she was like, well, can you help with setting up my printer? This was later. That was one thing. And then it was like, well, can you help with this Excel document? All of this stuff. It was like every time I came around when it dealt with technology, it was almost like I was the go-to person, like I was the customer service representative. I was the customer service representative for Spectrum, I was the customer service representative for Hewlett Packard, and I was the customer service representative, apparently, for Microsoft. I'm telling this story during my daily thought to tell you this. If you have access to the internet, you have access to everything. Unless you live in a country that blocks certain things and all that stuff. But that's another show for another day on a different podcast. But for the most part, if you have access to the internet, you have access to everything. There are so many things where I didn't know the answer. or I couldn't do something. And as a matter of fact, I'll give you an example. My PS4 controller got stuck. The light was stuck on the white light on my PS4 controller. I think I might have mentioned this before. And I was ready to contact Sony, because obviously, Sony PlayStation. And I was checking everything and I was trying to find a manual, so on and so forth. But I was like, before I call the 800 number and bug Sony and do this and do that, or before I pick up the phone and call someone who has a Sony PlayStation, let me just do some more searching. And then I went on YouTube and I found a video with the exact problem and how to fix it. And guess what? I fixed it. I didn't have to call anyone. I didn't have to phone a friend and make them a customer service representative for Sony, because they don't work for Sony. They're not on Sony's payroll. I didn't have to do anything extra. I'll give you another example. One of my friends who I love dearly, I love him very much. He has a special place in my heart and always will. Whether I end up in a relationship with him or not, I do not know how it will go. However, when I had went to the beach, Malibu check-in, and we were talking via text when I was parked, had to throw that in there. When I was parked, safety, I had said, because he was like, something. I was like, oh, well, I'm about to get on the PCH right now. And he replied back, what is the PCH? Things like that get on my nerves. Because, and like I said, I love them to pieces. But you're texting me from a device that has access to the internet. You can't type in California PCH on Google, DuckDuckGo, Bing, Yahoo, whatever search engine, and see what comes up. And it's like, oh, that's the PCH. Usually that's what I do. I'll give you another example. Back on May the 4th, my coworker said to me, May the 4th be with you. I'm like, what are you? I was like, look, I have no idea what May the 4th has to do with Star Wars. And I don't feel like looking it up right now. I'll look it up later, is what I told him. And he said, oh, you don't have to look it up. I'll go ahead and tell you. But I made it clear to him, I'll go ahead and look it up and do that. Another example, many years ago, when it came to Cinco de Mayo, when I worked for another company, one of my coworkers didn't know why Cinco de Mayo was celebrated. I didn't really know why Cinco de Mayo was celebrated either. So I went and looked it up and found the answer, which in the end, Mexico still lost the war. It was just that particular battle that it was significant because they were losing several battles throughout the process, and because they won that one on Cinco de Mayo, because Mexico owed money to Spain. So all of that had happened. I'm pretty sure it was Spain they owed money to. And I got the whole breakdown of it. And by the way, I looked up stuff so much at one of my old jobs where people would come to me and ask me questions and I would know the answer. My nickname at my old job was Google Me Baby. We all had nicknames because when we formed our teams, we had to come up with nicknames for each other. And the team came up with the nickname for me, Google Me Baby, because I would Google everything. Because I believe that if I don't know something, I will look it up. And that's what I say. Everyone can look it up. Now, when it comes to comprehension, that's a different bowl of wax. That's a different type of thing. You can look up something and possibly not comprehend it. And then that's where you have to work on your comprehension skills or bring in something or someone that helps filter everything out where you can understand it on a better level. However, you still need to take the initiative to find out for yourself, to seek for yourself, and do that. I do my best not to ask people things that they don't represent. If they're not a representative for that, it's almost like when you go to the doctor. If I go to my doctor, she's being paid to give me medical information. If I come out of my mouth and say, hey, do you know why the sky is blue? Or do you know why the ocean is blue? She's probably going to be like, you might want to Google that. Or you might want to speak to a marine biologist. Because that's not part of her scope of support. She's not paid to tell me why the ocean is blue or why the sky is blue. She's paid to tell me what I need to know in regards to my health. As I said before, seek and ye shall find. Stop making people customer service agents for companies they don't work for. I remember when I was in the grocery store one time many years ago with my granny. And my granny spoiled me because I told you I was my granny's favorite. So anything I threw in that cart, granny didn't care. But we were in the grocery store one time and a man came up to her, or came up to us, and asked my granny, what aisle, I think it was the sugar, if I'm not mistaken. He was like, what aisle is the sugar on? And then my granny looked and she reads the aisles. That's what she does. And she's like, I think it's on aisle, I'm just going to say 6. Whatever aisle it was the aisle that had the sugar. She's like, I believe it's on aisle 6. And as soon as he walked away, my granny looked at me and I looked at her. And we both had this look like, why did we get this question like we work for the grocery store? And again, this is not me coming from a place of malice. This is not me coming from a place of not looking to help people. This is me coming from a place of asking people to empower themselves. Because when you depend on other people to do things for you, when you depend on other people for your information, then you are stuck depending on them. But when you use your human agency and get your information, when you do things for yourself, then that's called independence. And that's why I'm saying this from a place of love. You don't have to wait for an answer to come back from someone where you ask a question. Well, what does this mean? What about that? When you have all the tools you need to get the answer to the question. Just like with Excel. I am not that great at Excel. I call it for what it is. Do I know how to do Excel? Yeah. Better than some. But can I do VLOOKUP and all this other stuff and everything else? No, because I don't use it like that anymore. I did in real estate. I had to do a whole lot of stuff in real estate with Excel docs. But now I don't. However, anytime I hop on an Excel doc and I have to do something I don't know how to do, gee, do you know that there are people on YouTube who do Excel tutorials? And you can type in what you're trying to do and they will show you exactly how to do it. Imagine that. There isn't any excuse not knowing. There isn't any excuse not knowing. And my main point is, outside of the title of this, where you're making someone a customer service representative for a company they don't work for. My main point is, you're the one with all the power. You're the one with all the knowledge. You're the one who can make the difference. You just have to do it. You just have to seek. And I'm not saying don't feel like you can never ask anyone anything. What I am saying is don't let it be your knee-jerk reaction. Don't let it be second nature to ask about something from someone where they may not deal with that. They're not on whatever company or entity's payroll that relates to. It's always to your advantage to learn as much as possible. One thing my granny used to say to me because I would say to her sometimes with certain things, it's like, oh, I don't want to learn that. And she told me, she's like, shut up. Sometimes it's just good to know. Even if you don't want to learn it, even if you don't need to know it. Sometimes it's just good to know, is what my granny would say to me. So I'm saying that to you. Sometimes it's just good to know. Even if you know, someone will give you the answer. Sometimes it's just good for you to know the answer just so you have the answer. And that is my daily thought. KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Feel free to listen to my podcast on whatever platform works best for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Thank you to everyone who has been consistently supporting this podcast and all of these uploads over the past few weeks. It's been amazing. It's been so amazing. Thank you for that. Until next time, be blessed.